And welcome. Danielle, hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Hi, Danielle. Should have greeted you first 'cause you were here
Hi.
first. Okay, excellent. And Cameron, welcome. Okay, no problem. Thanks, Sibusiso. Are you, if not, maybe you joined last week, or are you a grade 12 learner? Okay, cool. Okay, great, guys. Let's get started. I'm super excited for today's one, as I'm just really enjoying this series. I hope you guys are as well. We're going to look today at conditional statements or cause and effect, and then afterwards I'll give you some exercises that you can do. I just want to share my screen quickly. Hey, Silani.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so well. How are you? Good. And is there someone else now that joined as well? Molefe. Guys, you are more than... Hi, Molefe. How are you?
Good news, sir.
I'm good, thanks. You're more than welcome. Okay. So for those of you that joined, we have in our grade 10 and 11 life orientation program, we have what we call the dynamic program, in which we just do things a little bit different. And what we are doing for this year is a little bit personal and philosophical. So I just want to show you guys, and this is how I just start every week, just to remind us what we're doing. We're trying to find the answer to this question. Give you the question out. Is the question... Okay, just put your sound off if you're...
Just put it here. I should just put it in water.
Okay. Here we go. We're trying to answer this question. Who am I? Okay. Now, who am I is not a direct question that I can answer, because I'm not just a singular point. There's a lot of things that contribute to who I am. Okay. One of the things that contributes to who I am is why I'm here. Why am I here? It's a question of meaning. Okay. And another question is, where am I going? And the third question is, what is right and wrong? Or what is good and true? It's a question of morality and truth. Okay. Now, these are all, the way you answer these questions will describe a lot about who you are. It will define that a lot. Why am I here? Where am I going? How do I know what is good and true? All of these things contribute to who you are. These intersect in smaller circles. We'll talk about that some other time. But the overarching thing, the question we need to start off with is this question, and I'm going to explain why this is important by just explaining something quickly. Cause and effect. Cause and effect. So we're in a series where we're discussing critical thinking, like really thinking things properly through. And we started off by saying the first thing, if you want to think something through very carefully, is... Yikes, this thing writes ugly. Okay. The first thing, definitions. The first thing you need to do is define terms. When you're discussing something, the first and foremost thing you need to do, or if you're trying to understand things, is understand the words that are being used. The thing that gives life or anything meaning is the actual meaning of things, isn't it? Okay, so if I know what I mean and people understand what I mean, then I can bring myself across more clearly. I'll give an example. I had a similar example recently where someone was telling me something. I don't want to go into details, but I disagreed, and I said, I don't think... it's best to give you the example. So in our church, we were described as congregational. Our church is congregational, and I went to go and look at. Well, I didn't know what that meant, so I went to go look at what that meant, and then I asked the person, "Why do you say we are congregational?" I said, "I don't think we are. Why do you say we are? What is the definition that you are using?" So if someone is using a word to describe something, and I don't agree with that, I first have to go and say, "Okay, what do you mean by that?" So that, okay, maybe I wouldn't call it that, but I understand what you're meaning. And the same thing, if I want someone to understand me, is I need a definition. And one of the things that we said is that if I have a definition, let's say I say that a ball is round, okay, it's a three-dimensional round object. Because I'm defining a ball, now I need to go, and now I probably need to say more. If I say that's a ball, maybe do I mean a soccer ball? Okay, soccer ball has certain other features or whatever. But whatever I use to define that word with, I now need to define the words that I use to describe it. So if I say a ball is round, now I need to describe what round is. And maybe I get into a little bit of technical components. Okay, round means that it is the same distance from a certain point. Oh, now I use the word distance. What do I mean by distance? What do I mean by point? If I say a ball is three-dimensional, what do I mean by dimensions? Oh, dimensions is direction in that's even difficult to define. But anyway, my point just is when you use a definition, you are using words to define something, and those words themselves needs definition. So, for example, in discussing, is our church congregational? Congregational churches vote about, like, there's democracy, there's a democratic way of choosing. It's not one leader that makes decisions. So now you need to define, what do we mean by democracy? And I just did that. I described it's not one person making decisions. And so, but as you go ahead and doing that, you can't just continue to do that. So at some point you need to start with something. And you'll understand now why I'm saying this, is you have to start somewhere where you say, okay, I can't really define it. I have to start with something that's completely undefinable. Like I can't use words to describe it because those words will also need defining. So I need to start somewhere where I just need to accept, and you need to understand what I'm saying, and we have an intuitive idea of what we mean by that. And it's similar. Okay, so that was definitions. That was our first topic. The second topic we did was assumptions. Okay, assumptions. Now, assumptions were, what we said is that anything that I believe, any statement I make, is only true, and the example I used was, for example, the inside angle of a triangle is 180 degrees. That is true if I'm working on a flat surface. So if I make that statement, that the inside angle of a triangle is 180 degrees, I'm assuming I'm working on a flat surface. Now, anything that you say, anything that you think are based on assumptions. Now, there's a difference between facts and assumptions, and we looked at the difference, what is a fact and what is an assumption last week. And even if all facts are based on things that are assumed, so every fact that I think of, every fact that I know, everything that I think is a fact is somewhere based on assumptions, which again means that if everything assumes everything else, there's something, there is, again, just a starting definition. Somewhere is an assumption that I make that I can't prove. I have to start somewhere. And we used some examples. I don't want to go through that, but I have to start somewhere. I have to assume something. And this is now where we're coming to this bigger question, is where do I come from? Where do I come from? This, guys, is going to be an assumption. And I don't necessarily mean, like, yes, let me go further. Let's now talk about cause and effect. Cause and effect. Okay. cause and effect will mean that, so what is the difference between, or what is a cause and what is an effect? A cause is something that is producing an effect, okay? So an effect is what happens, and a cause is what made it to happen. Does that make sense? Does anyone have a question? Yes, Tyler? Oh, Cameron's having issues. Okay, you're excused, definitely excused. Thank you. Okay, so you guys understand what a cause is. And something happens. A cause is what made it happen. The effect is what happened. Okay, now that is why I'm repeating all of that. And because today we're going to talk about how do I actually get down to these assumptions? Because I want to assume, I want to reduce my assumptions. I don't want to have a lot of assumptions because something's just something I assume. I can't prove it's true. I don't know if it's true. It's something I'm assuming is true. And your whole world is built on what you assume. Everything in life. I'll give you, let's quickly see. And I don't want to debate this. Let me ask you a question. If someone didn't get the COVID vaccine, give me a reason why they might not have taken the COVID vaccine. Like, what would have been one of the assumptions? Or if someone did get the COVID, we'll look at both arguments. And it's not to debate here. It's just trying to understand, why would someone choose to do something and why would someone choose not to do it? Give me some examples of what could be a reason why someone would not have taken a COVID vaccine. Solani, what do you say?
I think it boils down to a belief, whether or not they take the vaccine, whatever the case is. So they believe that what they're being told is true, or that vaccine will protect you from whatever.
Okay,
And
so before you go on, I just want to pause there. Okay, so you say someone would take it because they are assuming that it will protect them from a certain risk. Okay, so that's the one reason. Okay, now do the other one. I just want to make sure I understand. Yeah.
And then the other one would be opposite of that. So someone not taking it would be, again, a belief that I don't believe that this thing will protect me from whatever.
Okay, so you think if someone doesn't think it will protect them, they're not likely to have taken it.
Correct. There's now relating it to myself as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's the best way to relate. So you don't have to give your own position, but you're welcome to.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Anyone else? What do you think would have been a reason why someone would have taken it or would not have taken it? So I think Solani's had a very good point in why someone would have taken it. They would have taken it because they think there is a threat. So they're assuming there is a threat, COVID. And now the question, I'm not saying they're assuming it. They are making the decision because there is something that is considered a threat, and they want to protect themselves against that threat, and they are convinced that the vaccine will do that. So now the question is, both of those things were statements. One is COVID is a threat. Two is the vaccine can protect me. Those are statements that they consider to be true, but those statements are again based on other things. So what caused them to think that COVID is a threat? Okay, so there's something that caused them to accept that. So there was a cause and an effect. For example, they might have known a friend that got COVID and passed away, or a family member. They might have not, but they still considered it a threat because the news and the media helped them to consider the dangers of it. Okay, let's say that one. Let's say the news and the media helped you consider it. What what would have made them accept the news and the media as a source of credible information? Why would you accept it?
Peter, I think it would be, I would accept it based on the credibility of the source. So, for an example, if it's maybe on News 24, I would assume that it's more credible than something I'm reading on Facebook, for an example.
Yeah. Okay. So in other words, you are assuming the source from where it is trustworthy. Excellent.
Correct.
That is that, and that's the whole point that I'm trying to make. Is everything is eventually based on assumptions, and I'm not going for or against anything else. Let's quickly look at someone that maybe said against it. Give me an example of why would someone maybe not take a COVID vaccine. Maybe someone else give me a reason. Tyler?
Maybe they had a view on something similar with my family. My parents looked at it in a statistical way where they said measles vaccines or chickenpox vaccines, they were developed over years, but this vaccine came out within 6 months of the virus, which, how is it possible?
Yeah. Good. Okay, I like what you're saying. So they're saying, okay, we're not just trusting the news that's coming through, and they are also getting reasons for that. They're going back and comparing that to something else and saying, wait a minute, there's no long-term tests on this thing. I'm not just going to assume I can trust the sources. Okay, and so there's a reason. So now already we're not arguing or differing at the point of whether or not people should take it. We're going down to what are the assumptions that we are making. And now someone needs to convince it. Like if you wanted to convince someone, if you are in disagreement, you need to give a reason for why do I not trust the source, or why do I trust the source. You can go back to that. So this whole thing is a cause and effect thing. Okay, I want to stop there because I want us to do an activity. I've got a picture I'm going to show you guys, and I want you to, from the picture, tell me as much as you possibly can from this scene. What can you infer? So an inference is not an assumption. The inference is saying, I'm looking at the facts, and here is why I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm giving a reason for why I'm saying. Okay. And you'll see how cause and effect is what is coming across here. Okay, so here's the picture. Can you guys see this picture? Ooh, not anymore. Can you see it well enough? Is it clear enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so guys, I can't now check your if your hand is up. So just speak
Yes,
up.
we can see.
Give me some inferences. Okay, some thing that you can tell me about what is happening here and why are you saying it. Tell me as much as you can about this scene.
So I must point out something that isn't an assumption.
It's something that you can tell me from this picture, an inference. An inference means I'm looking at something and I am making a statement, but that statement is based on something else. Okay, so I'm not saying, okay, there's people in the picture. No, tell me something about the people. Tell me something about the whole scene that is an inference. You are making a conclusion. And then I want to know, why are you making that conclusion? What is the source of your opinion?
Well, I will say it must have been raining.
Oh, excellent. Why on earth do you say that?
Because the road seems it has water, so it seems
Okay,
very
stop
wet.
there. Stop there. Stop there. That's perfect. I want to make a statement here. Okay. Do you guys agree with this statement? If it rains, then it's wet. Okay, would you guys agree with me that that is a valid statement? If it rains, then it's wet.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Very
Yes.
good. This is called a conditional statement. Okay, you can see what is the cause. Oh, let's start with
Rain.
the effect. What's the effect?
Listen.
What is the effect?
The weather.
Okay, no,
The
no,
waves.
the effect. So the effect is what
Oh,
happened. Okay?
so it will mostly cause floods in most places if it rains, and also most of the time you find people being disadvantaged because there might be homeless people in those
Yeah.
cases where
Oh,
they don't have
before we
resources.
go there, I just mean in this sentence, something is the cause and something is the effect.
Oh,
In this sentence, if it rains, then it's wet. What is the? Let's start with okay. Let's do the cause first. What is the cause?
evaporation.
There?
Evaporation.
No. In this sentence,
Oh,
there's two
The
things.
cause is
There's
the rain.
There's rain, and then there is wet.
Wet. The effect.
Wet is the effect. Very good.
Cause
Wet
is the
is the
rain.
effect, and cause is the rain. So the rain is causing it to be wet. Does that make sense?
yes.
Yes. Okay. So sorry if I didn't explain that very nicely. Okay. So now my question is the opposite. So a conditional statement says if A is something that happens, then B. B is, so if A is the cause, then B. Now my question is, if we were to turn this around, and if I now say if B, then A, would this still be true? If it is
No.
not wet, does it mean it, no, sorry. If it is wet, does it mean it did rain?
No.
No, why
No.
not? Give me a good reason. Give me a reason why not.
Because there's many other reasons it could be wet besides
Very
the rain.
good. Okay, so an effect is caused by something, but it's not necessarily the only thing that can cause it. No. So
Correct.
I can't just based on and this is what we call evidence. So if I look at something, and now to go get back to the picture, okay, I'm not gonna she wasn't finished, but just the water alone, is rain a probable cause? Is it something that could have caused the wetness?
Could have, yes.
Yes.
It could have, but it's not the only reason why you made that conclusion, is it, Danielle?
No, it's not.
Okay, so give me another reason why that was actually a very, so in other words, looking at this picture, we could say, okay, it's red. I could assume it rained, okay, but that would just be an assumption. Why would you say is your assumption probably true? What else in the picture?
The people all have umbrellas.
Excellent. The people have umbrellas. Okay, so now if you,
There,
hmm, someone say something.
you could also say that there is cloud cover, so there's
Excellent.
no.
Brilliant. So here's now three very, very good, compelling reasons, okay, that tells me that that what I'm seeing here is the effect of rain. What are the why do I know that? Because there's people walking with umbrellas, there's a wet surface, and there is cloud cover. It's not bright and sunny. Excellent. Tell me a little bit more. That is lovely. Really well done. Tell me a little bit more about this picture. What can you tell me about this picture? What can we infer?
Well, the assumption would be it's in a city, a
It's
city-like place.
okay. Excellent. Give me some good reasons. Someone else. Why would you say? So she's saying it's a city. And if something is in a city, so that is the cause, okay? It rained was the cause, wet is the effect. So in other words, what I'm looking for to identify the cause is the effects. So she says it's in a city. What is if something is in a city, what would you expect to see that you can see here? Someone else.
Do you expect to see tall buildings?
Excellent. Tall buildings. There's tall buildings. Anything else?
And maybe a little bit of traffic than
Yeah.
you would find in the locations. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we find here, no? Okay. So definitely, I think the tall buildings is quite rare. Okay. So let's make another statement if we go back there. Okay. If okay, let me not go there. I'm not going to have enough time. Okay, cool. What else can you tell me about the city? So here we have a scene,
Sorry,
a city scene where it's just rained. Okay. Oh no, wait, rain. I said something now that was an assumption. What did I say?
you said that it just rained.
I just rained.
Not that
Why?
it
Would you
was.
agree with me, Danielle, that it just rained?
If I look very closely, I do not see any rain of drops. So yes, I would agree.
Okay, so it's not raining, yes, because there's no raindrops. What else can we say?
But how do we
No.
know that it just rained or it's
Good.
about to rain?
So
No, but the thing is, like, it just rained because the effects of the rain already, you can see them already. So it
No,
shows
but
that it,
remember we said the water could be a cause from something else besides the rain.
but
yeah, but that's umbrellas.
the umbrellas and the overcastness helped us to see that
The overcast.
it's a
Okay.
given. Yeah. So but now why it's definitely not raining there now.
Mm.
That much is clear. Give me some, but it does look like it just rained. Why just rained? Yes, the effects of the rain, there's water. What else?
The umbrellas, they still have their umbrellas over there.
No, it
Haven't-
probably just stopped. For me, I see also that guy in the middle. Well, I don't think he or that girl would have walked without an umbrella if it was raining. So gives me a good suggestion. Tell me a little bit more about the city. What can you tell me about the city?
It's almost as if it's like closing in on you, like a general city does. It's very, you feel very small in the place.
Okay, I want some conclusions about the city, some observations about maybe where it is or where it definitely is not. What can you tell me about? Can you tell anything about? Well, I don't even want to give you suggestions. There's so much we can, just by looking at the city, observing, make reasonable assumptions.
I can't really tell where it is because I don't know my cities well.
Where
But
is
I
it
do
not?
Again, I don't. But I do want to point out there is nature in the, like, it looks like a street, so there is nature. So it has to be a place where cities would have like this nature thing.
Okay, someone posted something there. Let me see. Solani, yes.
I would make the conclusion that it's somewhere in New York, mainly because of the yellow cap. It's the only place that I know they have the yellow caps.
Okay, so just because it has a yellow cab and the only place you know has yellow cabs is New York doesn't mean it's likely New York, ne?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so but what do you know? Where is it definitely not?
It is definitely not in South Africa.
It's not South Africa, ne? There's a few clues on why not. Okay, let's make an if statement. What would you have expected if it was a city in South Africa? What would you have expected? Let me just see how I. What would you guys say? If it was a city in South Africa, what would you have definitely seen?
Probably a taxi somewhere.
Yes. So let's put
So
that if wow, okay. Okay, if in South Africa, then taxis would be minibus taxis. No, we would have expected that. If there is a taxi, it's a minibus taxi. Would you guys agree that's a reasonable statement?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to demonstrate something. So this time, if we say it backwards, what do we notice? Okay, it's not if. So if A, then B, like if that statement is true, then to say it backwards, if B, then A, does not necessarily follow. In other words, I can't just turn the sentence around and it is true. But if I make it the opposite, so let me use the rain example again. If in that picture there was no water on the ground, what would I be able to say? It definitely
Wasn't raining.
wasn't raining. So if it's rains, then it's wet, doesn't mean if it's wet, it rained, but it definitely does mean if it's not wet, it definitely did not rain. Does that make sense?
Correct,
So,
yes.
so that's another way in which I can evaluate anything, the truth of anything, is I have certain things, causes and effects, and if I don't see the effect, then I know that cause is definitely not there. So if I look at my picture, there is a taxi. If it was a South African scene, it would have been a minibus taxi. You know, it is an assumption, okay? So maybe there's one yellow taxi. There are some in Pretoria, I know. Okay, but that's just one thing. This is not in South Africa, because if it was South Africa, then a taxi would be a minibus. This is not a minibus, so it is not in South Africa. What else do you see here that would have been different if it was South Africa?
The robots.
Yes, the traffic lights.
Mm.
In South Africa, if it was South Africa, the traffic lights would be black. Like most of our traffic lights are black. The traffic lights are not black, so it is not South Africa. Another thing I also noticed, which would have probably been different if this was South Africa. Any
I would have
suggestions?
been in the picture. I'm joking.
But I know what you mean. Okay, the demographics doesn't fit South Africa. Like this is just a bunch of white people. So I don't know. That might be a black person, but they
I
all look
thought
white.
that guy is a black guy.
It
That
could
one
be,
there
but
is.
yeah, I can't 100% see, but I would definitely have not expected, if it was South Africa, I would definitely expect to see at least some more prominent,
More.
more
Yeah.
black. So this scene is likely not in South Africa. Okay, so it's a good assumption. One more thing about this picture, and then we'll go to another picture. Tell me a bit about the climate. So I'm going to lead you guys now a little bit. What can you tell about the climate, about the season?
The climate looks quite odd because when it rains here in South Africa, generally we put like a jacket or something on because it does cool down quite a bit. But over there, it looks like it's more humid purely because they're all walking around, or most are walking around in shorts and a t-shirt.
Excellent. So what is the season?
Probably like a summer, spring.
Definitely summer or spring. Probably summer. Spring might have been a little bit cold. Okay. Give me another reason why you say it's summer. Why you could say it's summer.
I do want to add maybe because of the trees, they're green.
Yeah. So is it reasonable to think that in summer trees are green? The trees are green, so the cause could be it's summer. In summer, people wear shorts. If it's summer, people would wear shorts. People are wearing shorts. Therefore, like it could have been another reason, maybe just a hot winter's day. Like it doesn't necessarily, but it's a probable cause. Okay. Those are two good assumptions. The only other assumption that I thought of is that in terms of this, wherever the city is, it is it has rainy summers. Because, for example, if it was South Africa, it's not likely to be Cape Town because Cape Town gets rain in the winter. So this, wherever this is, they get summer rain. Okay. So that's one of the conclusions I could make. Cool. Let me look at another picture. A similar picture. Just give me very quick feedback about what you see in this picture. It's slightly different.
First, it's probably fall or autumn.
Fall or autumn, and you're making that based on?
Based on the leaves, they are orange, which is the effect of having the fall season.
Yeah, excellent. What else can you guys say about it?
The people are also wearing like jackets and scarves and long pants. So it definitely shows that it's colder.
Definitely
And it's in a different, it looks like it's in a different city even.
Yeah.
I would say in a different city, but it could be the same area because they use the same robots. But that's like,
yeah. So it could be like the same country because some
Yeah.
countries have, just like South Africa. Would you make the same assumption as in the other one? What did we start with? What can you tell me about the picture? So we now looked at the weather. Would you also say it just rained?
yes, I would think so. But then people don't have umbrellas, but they do have jackets, so I think so.
Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you guys a little secret about both of these pictures. They're not real. They are AI generated. And I want you to look at this picture and give me, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Give me all the reasons that you can see that this is not a real picture. This is not real. It's AI generated.
This is going to be quite a weird one, but when you're taking a photo with a camera, you need specific lighting and stuff. So with the lighting of the AI generated photo, it is incorrect to get that type of photo. It would be a lot darker. And with a flash, if you wanted to use a flash to get it lighter, it wouldn't collect all the correct details.
Okay, good. No, that's good. You can, yeah, there's definitely something off about the lighting. If you look at this light here, like that's a street light. Okay, but there's no pole. And it's in front of the tree. So, but because the light is on this side of the tree, but there's nothing in front of the tree. Okay, good. So there's definitely lighting issues. There's a few things that you can actually observe where this is just weird.
So I don't know how to pronounce his name, Sisu, but like he said, the guy has an umbrella for a head.
Yes. That's exactly it.
His legs also kind of like backwards.
Yeah, his leg is like he's walking in the direction of the boy, but it actually his legs are actually facing the wrong direction. So yeah, that's good. Okay. Anything else?
There by the robot.
He's not.
For some reason, it's blurry, but like for everything else, it's not blurry.
Yeah,
So it's like,
the robot, something is weird there because like even I don't know what's sticking out of that robot. That's weird too.
Oh yeah.
There's also a light flare on the tree. The one tree, there's a light flare, and there's a light flare by the cars in like the back
Yeah,
right
like
section
the,
of the
that's
photo,
just, yeah, that's just really,
which you cannot get without special effects, even in
Yeah.
a normal camera. You'd have to edit it and
yeah,
Photoshop it.
okay. Yeah, look, here's a weird traffic light just hanging in the tree somewhere. Look at the cars. Look at the road. Look at the,
Yeah, the cars are like in the sidewalk.
yes, the tree is actually in the middle of the road. This guy is, well, the people are walking in the middle of the road. You can also see that car is driving on the wrong side of the road. Why do I say that? Have I lost you guys? Oh, no. So, yeah.
So in the photo, you said that the cars are driving on the wrong side of the road. So overseas, they do drive on the opposite side. But in this one, you've got some cars on the same side of the road going in opposite directions,
Yes.
which is weird.
Yes. So they both of those cars, either that car is parked or it's driving, doesn't matter, but it is on the left-hand side of the road, and there's a car in that lane just next to the parking that is driving in this direction. You'll also see there is this building sticking out here at the top that doesn't have a bottom. So a whole bunch, and you can just see a lot of things. So guys, be very careful when you look at pictures. Generated pictures these days are very convincing, but if you speculate them closely, you can see things that are off. If you zoom into hands, for example, you always see AI really struggles with making hands. Okay, guys, that was fun. Thank you for entertaining me, and I think you guys can see. Well, hopefully you can see where I'm going with this. In order to understand, to make inferences, to like the reason why a scene looks like it did is because there's a whole lot of things that happen that is causing this specific scene. Where it is will cause it. What season it is will cause certain effects. And based on looking at effects, I can make reasonable assumptions. Okay. So that based on those effects, I can make reasonable assumptions, and we call those probable causes. The probable cause of something, what likely caused it to happen. Okay. Now, cause and effect. Everything in the universe is caused. You guys are doing a project now. Just like we did here. With definitions, I needed to define the words that I use in every different definition. But at some point, I can't continually do that forever and ever. Somewhere I had to start with something saying, okay, I can't define it. I'll just have to use the word and say it's undefined, but the whole world describes what this thing is that I left undefined. Same with assumptions. Everything I use, I must prove. If I say I'm not going to get a COVID vaccine, okay, based on what, or I am going to get a COVID vaccine, whatever, based on what? Why do I say that? What is my reasons for that? That reason is based on another reason. Let's say I say, I am going to get it. Why? Because there's a danger called COVID. Why do you say it's a danger? Why is your life in danger? Or maybe you feel, no, my life isn't in danger, but if I have it and I spread it to someone I love, their life might be in danger. Like, okay, so there's an assumption there that it is a contagious disease. So that's an assumption. Why do you say that? Well, I see it here and here. Why do you say that? So everything goes back until you get to a point where, okay, well, I do trust the medical profession. I can't necessarily prove it, or maybe I can because I've often gone to the doctor or often had medical intervention, and it's always been good for me. I have no reasons to doubt it. Another person might have another story, but nonetheless, the point is, at some point you get to an assumption. You get to a point where I say, well, I need to start somewhere. I need to put my faith in something. So I can't prove it. I can't reason it out. I'm believing it. That's what we talked about last week. This week, we're saying, okay, everything is the effect of something else. Okay, everything has an effect. So if I see something, if I say it rained, like if it rained, then it's wet. So I see it's wet. That means it rained. What caused the rain? Well, there's a whole ecosystem of things happening that caused the rain. Okay, what causes that ecosystem? Let's say, okay, it's summer, so we expect rain. So the summer weather and things in, like, we're in Pretoria, it rains in the summer and clearly also in autumn. But so that is part of what caused the rain. Part of what causes it to rain in the summer is then a bunch of other things. But here's my question. At some point, if I trace back, because let me shift gears a little bit. Where do I come from? That's the question we actually want to answer. I am the effect of a lot of things. There's a lot of things that makes me who I am. My environment, my culture, my parents, my household, my friends, all of these things has an effect on me and makes me who I am. But they themselves are a cause. Your parent, your mom, and your dad is the way that they are and the person who they are because of a lot of things that has happened to them in life, their upbringing, their culture, their history, their experiences, all added to them. So they are an effect. Okay. Often when we have troubled students, here's our parents, yeah, we realize that child is not an isolated system. They don't just have their challenges because they are a problem. Everyone is a product of effects, things that has happened to them. Now, as you trace it back, those things have an effect. So you are the cause. Where do I come from? Yes, you can give an answer to where I come from, but even that needs further explanation. Well, so yes, I come from my parents, but how did my parents get together? How did that happen? How did my parents come into existence? Yes, their parents had babies and that's why they came into it. Oh, where did my grandparents come from? Where did the Afrikaner people come from? Like, I am a product, because I'm an Afrikaner, of an Afrikaner history in South Africa. My specific heritage, at least in my surname, are from the Huguenots. The Huguenots came to South Africa because they were persecuted in France by the Catholics, persecuting the Protestants in 1778. Okay, where did that conflict come from? So all of these go back, and you trace it back. Obviously, there is causes for everything. So something that happened thousands of years ago has led
If we
to
if we had to
Sorry.
trace it like all the way back during cause and effect, eventually it would lead to God creating Adam and Eve.
So
Eventually, along the way, you'd get to that specific point, and then there isn't any cause and effect anymore.
Yes, that's exactly my point. That's where I want to get to. Thanks for getting me there quicker, Tyler, because you need to leave soon. Yes, my point is, at some point, you need to start with a cause that didn't have a cause. Okay, so can you think for me of some things? Because if I want to say, where do I come from? Yes, I can give a lot of answers, but eventually I need to ask the question, where do I come from? Eventually there is a cause of everything. And that is going to be your assumption. That is going to be your most basic assumption from which, because now the reason why this is the circle that covers everything is because every cause has an effect. The reason why this is the biggest circle is because how you answer this question, where do I come from? That's the original cause. That will determine, why am I here? Where am I going? what is good and truth. If you have a different answer for where do I come from than another person, you are definitely going to have different answers for why you are here, what is good and true, and who you are. Okay, so give me some options. What are some things that people could consider as something that has no cause in itself? I have a cause because I have parents. Give me some options. What are some things that maybe could not have a cause in itself, but it would have to be an assumption? You'd have to assume it. Something that didn't have a cause. Nothing caused it to be.
How far, like, are we talking anything? Or
Anything you can think of that doesn't have a cause, that just is. It didn't come to be. It just is.
I would assume that that would be clouds,
Clouds.
like the sky.
So do you think clouds have nothing that causes them? That's not what you're saying.
Or the sky. I think the
This,
sky is, it's just there. It's just been.
and has it
I would
always
say
just been?
there's an assumption.
And so let's consider the sky. I like what you're saying. Let's say consider the sky. The sky is ozone. So it consists of oxygen 3. Okay. Oxygen 3 is a product. Would you agree? It's
Correct.
a thing. That in itself must come from somewhere, don't you think?
Sure.
So somehow, maybe we don't know how, but somehow someone would be able to explain to us where the sky comes from. Like, why is the sky the sky? Why is it made up out of? So it would be a scientific question, but there would be
Yeah.
a cause for it. Nay, you would be able to explain where it came from and why it is the way it is. Do you think that's reasonable?
It is reasonable. I just think that, again, it's an assumption. I just think that I don't think even scientists would be able to say, oh no, this is what we did and we put it together and then the sky was there. Then we made the sky. I think it would boil down to it was just there.
And do you think it was always just there?
I
It's forever
think
been
so. Just the sky. Yeah, just
the
the sky. I
ozone.
think it was just the sky and then everything else formed from.
Okay. It's the sky. Okay. I'll give you that, but I like what you said. It's an assumption. So for you, you could say that sky exists. So you would, because here, what we're trying to do is we want to say something exists that I just assume something exists.
Yes.
It doesn't exist because of anything else. It exists
Yes.
because it exists.
Exists. Yeah.
It just exists. It had no cause. It has always been there. And you're not necessarily saying it will always be there because we're talking about cause. We're talking about what came before. So Lani will put in there sky. Sky exists. Okay. Anyone else?
I don't know if you can see the chats. Musiso just sent the text there. He says
Oh,
he would
please
assume
read
it's
it.
water.
Water.
He says he will assume it's water as it's a necessary element, so there can't be a time before water.
Okay. There can't be a time before water. So again, water is a product. It is the interaction between hydrogen and oxygen. When hydrogen and oxygen interact. So in both cases, if we're talking about the natural element, something that's natural, everything in nature is a product. It is caused by something. Like I can actually make water. How do I make water? Take hydrogen and oxygen, let them interact and produces water and heat. Okay.
True.
So I can make water, And then you can then ask, okay, but where does the hydrogen and oxygen come from? Okay, that's a good question. Let's go back. Where does
Yeah.
hydrogen and oxygen come from? Is there scientific? And again, I'm not saying science is all the answers. That's not the question here. I'm just saying, is there something like, are we saying that oxygen and hydrogen has always existed? And that's what I'm going to start with. Hydrogen and oxygen has always existed. Or do I think there could be an explanation, something that caused hydrogen and that caused oxygen to exist? So I'll just give you an example. So for most, the most scientific explanations is that in stars, so if you know a little bit of science and the thingy table, Tyler, you have to go, and I want to hear what you say before you leave. But so let me hold on with that and just hear, maybe before 1 o'clock, someone else wants to get a chance to, before I. Anyone else?
Well, I mean, I just wanted to add that, God, it has no cause, as far as we know.
Yeah.
And like he created all of the sky, water, hydrogen, oxygen. He made that all.
Yeah.
But obviously that's an assumption.
And that would be an assumption, eh? So in terms of how you explained it, so in your worldview, and this is what we call the worldview, is your worldview is how you view the world based on your initial assumption. So someone that assumes God exists would say, yes, I don't agree with someone that starts with sky, that sky is the beginning of all things, because I believe God could have made the sky. God is the source. There's no way. So in other words, that would mean, Danielle, that you would say that in your understanding of who God is, you would have to say that he's always existed. There was nothing that caused God to exist, or that no time before God.
Yeah, because time wasn't. God created time, so.
Okay, good. So that is, I think, in terms of unexplainable causes, I think that is a good candidate. Another one that I'll give, I'm not giving you mine, I'm giving you some causes that people say has just always existed. So for example, some people would say, no, the universe has always existed. So there's always been a universe, and the universe itself was not caused. The universe caused everything. Does that make sense? So inside the universe, there's a lot of things, but the universe itself, all of reality, has always existed. And maybe in a scientific sense, at some point, it was an infinitesimally small dot, and it all exploded in a big bang. That's one of the explanations. Does anyone want to give another suggestion of something that you think could have been the cause of everything? The original cause that didn't have a cause for itself.
Creation?
Creation, is it? So is and if you say creation, do you mean someone created? Or do you just say creation? Sorry?
God created. So what I thought was, yes, God created creation, but there was no explanation as to why he did it.
Yeah, so in terms of what
is-
you're explaining, creation is creation is the cause, is the effect of God creating. So creation is not uncaused. You would still start with God being your original explanation for where creation comes from. Does that make sense? I do understand
Yes.
that he doesn't necessarily have a reason. I understand that point, but creation itself is a cause from something. So you're not saying creation has always existed, no? That's not exactly what you're saying. Okay. Cool, guys. I want to stop here because you guys need to also go, and I also need to go. I have a and this is for the dynamic program students. I want you to consider this question: where do I come from? We've come to the end of term 1. We have one more session next week where I would like to hear your answers on how you answer this question: where do I come from? And what I mean by where do I come from is, what is your original cause? What do you assume created everything that we know, like is the source of everything that we know, all of the universe? And you don't have to, like, I want to know what is your answer. And the point here is not that you know it's true, it's what you believe, because that is the whole point. It is the basic assumption, and no one is going to argue with you. You don't need to be embarrassed about what you think, but this is going to form the basis for all of the rest of your answers for the rest of the year. Is how does, if I believe that somehow the elements has always existed, so let's say that's your answer: water, air, earth. Somehow that was the original, what has always existed in some form that we might not understand. That would maybe be what we call a naturalistic explanation, that somehow space, time, matter, all has always existed in some form. I don't necessarily know how, but it caused everything else. Then all I want you to do is remember, we looked at those pictures and we said, okay, the road is wet. I am assuming a cause, and here is my reasons why. Okay, because if it rained, then it is wet. So whatever answer you give me, so I want you to think about that this week. Whether you say the elements have always existed, or the universe have always existed, or God has always existed, I come from that. And here is my reasons why. Here is a probable cause for where I came from. And here is why I think that is true. And again, it's not going to be a debate. This is about you getting a start from, okay, this is where I think I come from, and this is going to influence how I think of the rest. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Any questions, or clarification, or objections, or concerns?
None from me.
Yeah, none from me as well.
This is awesome. You guys were really cool. I enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it and you learned something. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Have a lovely week.
You
I'll see
too.
you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Enjoy.
Bye, Simon. Bye,
Bye,
Tyler.
guys.
Thanks.
Just Neil. Bye, Molefe. Sibusiso, sorry. Oh, you left already. I didn't get you. Interact.